Welcome to the woods. Today I've got some notes which are down here. So if you see me looking down from time to time, it's not because I'm checking out my shoes, but I want to make sure I cover all the points that you lot put forward 2 videos ago. So a couple of videos back, I posed the question, what was it we wanted as a society moving forward? What can we get rid of out of this system? And what can we put in its place to make things better? Because often we're never asked what it is we actually want moving forwards. So I asked the question, and like the troopers you lot are, I got nearly 200 replies, and it took a while, a couple of weeks, to go through all of that information, and some of those replies were pages long. Pull out all of the information, jot it all down, and try and compress it into a manageable amount of points. So I've got 10 points, which seemed to come up more than 2 or 3 times from different people. And surprisingly, there wasn't that much about what we can get rid of. And there was a lot of what people wanted to see, which is good. It's a positive view of the future. So I'll begin. The first point that came up numerous times was one of self-sufficiency, both for individuals and communities or the nation as a whole. Now, I'm not going to differentiate during this little chat. I'm just going to go through the points. And I think what goes for the individual or for a community can also go for the whole nation. And these are the points that you think are important. So self-sufficiency in as many areas as is possible, with the main area and the main focus being on self-sufficiency in food. And that's a really important point. And there's a lot of talk from different groups of people who will tell you that this country could no longer be self-sufficient in food. Bollocks. In the mid-1980s, this country was producing 80% of its food. That's down to less than 50% now, mainly because farmers have been incentivized to diversify, because it's cheaper for us to buy our lettuces from Spain and our pigs from Sweden than it is to use our own. So farming within a capitalist system didn't make a lot of sense to the powers that be, and it's been greatly diminished. What is possible is a return to traditional farming methods and the introduction of new technology to increase input and be self-sufficient. It is possible, it can be done, and it's something I completely agree with. We need to be self-sufficient in food. cannot be relying on other nations around the world for our basic needs. So point one. Point two came up time and time again, which is a move towards localism as opposed to globalism on two fronts. So a lot of people were talking about using local businesses instead of global corporations, and other people were talking about local power structures. So a move towards a decentralization of power where local areas would have control over what happened in their particular area. And I think that's an interesting point. Both of those things could help immensely. So maybe that's something you lot can talk about and get back to me in the comments. How do you feel about a decentralized power system where local areas have a much more important say on how they're run and what goes on there? The third point that came up a lot is a tricky subject. It's religion. A lot of people recognize that religion or spirituality should be the foundation of a moral community and culture. The underlying principle should have a spiritual basis. Now the issue here, as is always the case, is there are differing religions. And I'm not going to get into that. What I would say is that I agree that a spiritual foundation is important for a community or a nation moving forward. And in this country, the one I live in, the one I'm talking about, I think we could introduce the framework for the two main religions, which would be Christianity and paganism within these circles. A framework of congeniality where we agree to disagree on some points. But I see no reason for animosity. So point three is a religious or a spiritual foundation as part of the culture moving forward. Point four is one I'm going to do a separate video on, but a lot of people pointed out that we need to move away from the current financial system and its debt-based currency and interest rates and usury. And I completely agree. And I'm not going to dwell on it too much here because, as I said, I'm going to do another video about this. But the current system is coming to an end anyway. I think we all realise that. It was never a sustainable system. And the use of money for many years now has ceased to be a tool for the production of anything and is now the reason things don't get done. Could we do this? Is it possible? Yes, but money. Yes, but cost. And I think we should be moving beyond that. So that's a discussion for another day. But again, I'm in agreement with everybody who pointed out that a society moving forward would need to ditch the current financial system. 100% agree with you. Number 5 is quite important to me, which is a robust and sensible approach to environmental conservation. Living the way I do, the environment's pretty important. I actually rely on it more than most. I get my electricity from the sun. I get my water from the rain. I have a lot of animals. I produce food. So the environment's important, and our approach to it should be one of conservation of our green open spaces, and how we treat this land and look after it for future generations. I'm afraid the political system we're struggling under today sees the land around as nothing more than a commodity to be traded, something to be flattened and built upon to increase profits. In the coming years, you're going to see a lot of talk about the environment, but they don't really care about it. Not your environment. What you'll hear about is, we'll have to tax you more so a polar bear doesn't die. But they don't care about this. This they would tear down tomorrow to put a railway line through, without a second thought. So our approach has got to be robust and sensible. Number 6 came up a lot. A stop to immigration, for a lot of reasons. Should I go into all the reasons? I think most of us understand that we don't need immigration. The system needs immigration, and it needs it for certain reasons. The Conservatives need it for one reason, and Labour would like it for yet another. And the system needs it for perpetual growth and consumerism. But we don't need it. We could promote larger families within our own nation, which would make sense, and that would take time. But we don't need more people. In fact, in the coming years, as everyone's being told, with the fourth industrial revolution that's about to be launched upon us, there's going to be less jobs. So it would make no sense to import more people into your country when there's going to be less work, especially onto a small island that is already overcrowded, suffering from an infrastructure breakdown, a lack of cohesion, and troubles coming out of the kazoo. So a stop to immigration. The removal of all illegal immigrants. That's people that have come here illegally and shouldn't be here. They should be removed forthwith tomorrow, if possible. And a generous resettlement package or programme put in place for those people that wish to leave because they don't like it here. And there seems to be quite a lot of these people who have a lot to say about how bad it is here and obviously wish to leave. And I think that we should help them, if possible. Number 7, this one came up a few times in a couple of different ways. And I completely agree with this, which is a return to a meritocracy and an end to quotas and so-called affirmative action programs. A return to meritocracy where the person with the best attributes for any given task or position is put to the fore and not held back, so that people without those attributes are given a chance. It really makes very little sense, and in the long run can get you into serious trouble. I agree. A return to meritocracy. Number 8 needs to be tied in with the localism issue and the environmental issues. Because number 8 was a move towards affordable home ownership. When I was younger, this was a given that you would own your own home. It's what everybody did. Very few people thought about renting, or maybe they would rent for a short period, whilst saving. Sadly, nowadays, we have whole generations of people who can never envisage owning their own home. So a move towards affordable home ownership for our people is a positive step in the right direction. I would balance it by saying that in any locality it should be the local people that decide the density, the area of construction and the architecture. And that shouldn't be left to central government or planners with no eye for beauty. It also needs to be tied in with our environmental concerns and the preservation of our green areas. But seeing as there won't be thousands upon thousands and thousands of people coming into the country, and as birth rates are still below replacement level, over the years the housing wouldn't have to be quite so drastic as it is now. But yes, a move towards affordable home ownership is a goal I agree with. Number 9 has obviously been influenced by what we've been through in the last 2 years. It's a move away from dependence on large global pharmaceutical industry. And I spoke with a couple of people in the comments about how that could be done. And most people kind of agreed that a move towards a national, non-profit pharmaceutical industry would be a good idea, where we produce our own drugs for our own people, not for profit. That would help out a lot. And the last one, number 10, is kind of an ethereal point of view and came up in quite a few comments in different ways, and it was said in different ways of saying it. We need to move to a system where someone's individual rights are balanced by their responsibilities to both their family, their community, and their nation. And I'm not talking about your human rights of life and the right not to be injected with experimental potions. But we need to balance our rights within this country with our responsibilities to it. And that starts with ourselves, our family, our community, and then wider still to our people and our nation. And it's all about balance. And I've spoken about that in many videos. Dualism and balance. It's kind of how I live out here. I still use technology. I just mentioned that my electricity comes from the sun and my water comes from rain. But there's a mechanical pump on those water tanks. And the solar panels and the inverter and the battery system is quite technical. So using technology to harness that power. And as much as I did buy a log splitter to help split some logs, I still use an axe. And earlier this morning I was still doing fencing down the bottom so the Alsatian doesn't keep escaping. And I was using a sledgehammer and a spade. So balance. I can't see why moving forwards we can't find a balance between traditional and modern. How we can use technology to our advantage. We don't need to ditch everything. A lot of people said in the comments, I haven't put it down as a point, get rid of the TV. Something I did when I moved here. Was it because I didn't like TV? No, not really. I enjoy a good film. I think most people do. It's difficult to find one nowadays. But I got rid of it because of the amount of propaganda that was being pumped through it. Once the system changes, maybe that one changes as well. There's nothing wrong with watching a bit of TV. There's nothing wrong with using your phone. A lot of people have ditched the smartphone, and I get that. I understand that. Who wants to carry around a location beacon? And there's those who will laugh at that and say, well, you know, they know everything about you anyway, and what difference does it make if you've not done nothing wrong? And so there's good and bad, and we need to find the road through it all. We need to look to our past, to those achievements and the way we used to live. We need to cherry pick all of those good things. And this isn't something new. This is something that's been done before. You know, even in the Middle Ages, after the collapse of the Roman Empire and when they pulled out of this country and we were left once again to our own devices, we didn't forget everything that had just happened. Some of these advances that the Romans brought with them were carried on. So we need to be able to look back and see the things that are good that we can preserve and restart. And we need to be able to look around now at the things that are bad and don't work. Junk one lot, build a new lot. I hope these little videos start people thinking. There's a 10-point list there, and that's not my 10-point list. I agree with nearly everything on there. Go back and listen to them. Make a note on them. Leave me something in the comments so that I can start to put together more ideas. Together, we can start to formulate how we move forward, what it is we actually want. Because as I've said and pointed out numerous times, it's very easy for us to talk down what's going on at the moment. It's very easy to tear down and identify the negatives. Not so easy to say what you would like in its place. How would you like it to look? What would you like society to look like? And that's really what we need. We need that image. And these little 10 points here, it's just the beginning. And we can tweak those, and we can add to those, and we can alter things. Because I think we need a new way forward. I don't think the system is doing people any good at the moment. I would say that the system causes mental health problems. And we deserve more. We deserve better. But it's going to be down to us to decide what that should be. For those of you who aren't subscribed to this channel, and I know most of you are, please subscribe. I've noticed that views are pretty much the same as usual, yet subscriptions are way down, that people aren't being notified when there's a new video, even when they've hit the bell. That in the last video, a lot of the times the thumbs up wasn't working. I'd like to grow the channel and try and reach more people. The more people we get involved in this, the more ideas we can get, the larger the discussion becomes. The clearer the image will be of what we need to do to move forward. So help me out. Share the video if you can share it on other social media networks. If you've got Facebook, bung it up on there. If you use Twitter, something I've never done myself, I don't know, can you put videos on there? Put the video up on there, just share it. So share it around as much as you can. I've got a Telegram channel. There's a little chat facility on there. If you're a member, join in the chat. It's interesting. If you're not, look me up on Telegram. Join. All of these videos go up on Telegram, so you're bound to see when they come up. I also post a lot of other little bits and pieces on there, even if it's just the chickens walking around or the dogs acting stupid. So yeah, join me on Telegram. Try and help me out by promoting the channel and the videos. And we'll talk next time, you lot. Thanks for listening. Speak to you soon.